Welcome back to the Nuckhead podcast. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having a good morning. If this is your first time tuning into this show and you're already familiar with the videos I make on the main channel, you're probably going to like it because this is just an extension of those videos. It's just a bit more unhinged because, well, for two reasons. One, it's not scripted. Two, it's basically unedited. And three, even though I said there were only two reasons, three, because I have guests on here fairly frequently. In fact, I've talked to ex-Canucks Brendan Morrison and Eddie Lack, Canucks Central co-host and Canucks game host Satyar Shah, fellow Canuck content creator Diener HD has been on the show a few times. So yeah, if this is your first time listening, I think you're gonna like it. Now, this week's episode does not feature a guest. You've probably already seen that in the title of this one. It's just gonna be me responding to a bunch of your hot takes and any questions you have for me. So yeah, let's just get started. All right, yeah, so a few days ago, I asked you guys to send me your hot takes or any questions that you might have, expecting, maybe 20 or something, but I got, I think, somewhere close to 200. And the problem is I promised I would respond to every single one in this episode. So bear with me, I'm going to try. I don't want to break that promise. I'm going to try, but I'm going to have to speed run it a little bit. So starting with Twitter. By the way, I did not read any of these ahead of time, so I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, for the record. At Ted Hitchcock 007 asked, what is going on with Höglander? First of all, I don't know. Okay, that's the real answer. I don't know. But I am willing to speculate because I have a guess. I think our boy Big Hog is feeling the pressure, and I don't blame him. I think it's kind of similar to my answer when everyone was asking what I thought was wrong with Pettersson to start the season. He's 23. He was just given a $9 million contract after a career year. I think he had 24 goals last year. I'll break this down, right? There's two ways you look at this. The self-induced pressure would be, hey, I had 20 plus goals last year. I want to score more this year. I want to score the same amount or more, right? He starts the season, 2 goals in the first 5 games. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. The next 5 games, no goals. Starts getting in his head a little bit. He's like, oh shit, I better, now I'm on pace for less than last year. The next 5 games, no goals. Now he's gripping the stick a little bit too tight. Every time he gets the puck, he's overthinking it. He's not shooting, he's passing. The next 5 games, no goals again. I think it just piles up and, he starts to get hard on himself. And then meanwhile, you got the pressures of the city. You're walking around your neighborhood. You don't know which person you're walking past as a hockey fan who's going to confront you and say something. I mean, I don't think many people in real life actually confront these guys, but on social media, getting messages or just reading the comments, having news articles about you just put up on your screen without your consent saying, should Nils Höglander be traded? Should Nils Höglander be a healthy scratch? It just piles up. And I think eventually it's just something that every player, especially the ones that are in markets like Vancouver, have to deal with. The other side of it is the contract. He signed a 3x3 deal over the summer. That's $9 million to a 23-year-old. And like I mentioned, the fans you walk by in the street or you see on social media, think about the people who used to say, I mean, I hope they're not still saying it, but Pettersson clearly doesn't care anymore. He got his paycheck and now he's not trying. There were people who actually believed that. That it just blows my mind, right? So those people exist and they're loud. They're not the majority, but they're loud and they do get to these players. And I think that's why Pettersson had to delete his social media because how could he couldn't scroll without seeing someone being like, Pettersson actually just got an $90 million contract and now he doesn't care anymore. Yeah. That's how they sound, by the way. I'm just so sick of it, man. So I think Höglander's just dealing with pressure. And here's the thing, everybody, athletes, but also us, right? Just everybody, normal people too. We all deal with pressure at different points in our life. And the only difference is how long it takes us to overcome it and how we overcome it, right? It's not better or worse. It's just different for everybody. So, whether the Canucks have the patience to wait for Höglander to get through this moment is up for debate. I don't know, right? Because they want to win now and they also need a defenseman now. So if there's a good defender out there that they can get and that team's asking for Höglander, they're probably going to make that trade, right? It's a bummer, but it's just how it goes. Now, again, I'll bring it back to my original answer. I don't know, though. I don't know. All right, that's my answer to that. Tatiana said, unless he's part of a trade for a legit top 4 defenseman, we will end up regretting a Höglander trade. He's in a slump right now, but has a high offensive ceiling when he's on his game and is on a great contract for the next few years. Yeah, okay, so I agree a little bit. I mean, if it depends on the trade, but it'll sting regardless if we see Höglander in another jersey getting 30 goals a season one day. But you know, for example, if you look back at the trade the Canucks made last season to get Elias Lindholm, Vancouver gave up a lot. They really did. They gave up Kuzmenko, 2 decent defensive prospects, and Joni Jurmo and Hunter Brustevich, and a first-round pick. I can't remember what else was part of that trade, but you know, that's one that could, honestly, I think it's likely we'll look back on one day and be like, man, that sucks. You know, when we see Joni Jurmo playing well in the NHL, or maybe it won't be Joni Jurmo, but Hunter Brustevich looks like he'll at least be an NHLer at some point. You know, how good he'll be, I don't know, but the thing is, though, hindsight kind of does that automatically, right? Especially when you're doing a trade that's supposed to make your team better right now, temporarily. Like, I don't think Elias Lindholm really was ever going to sign back with the Canucks, because he was already a $7 million player when he came to the Canucks. It's not like he played so well as a member of Vancouver that he deserved to get $7 million. He was already worth that when he came here. And the Canucks had so many players they had to re-sign, from Zadorov to Hronek to Joshua Myers. I think they knew like this was going to be a rental. He was never going to be a Canuck come this season. And they knew that it was going to be a trade that they had to make now to get better now, right? So I think if Höglander gets traded, that might be the kind of trade we're looking at, where we get maybe like a 31-year-old proven to be good defenseman who's on the decline of his career but is still serviceable now, getting rid of a 23-year-old proven 20-plus goal scorer in Höglander. But like, our team would be better this season, but 5 years down the line, maybe we'll be mad about it. So it's inevitable when you're trading young players. So I don't know. I mean, I agree a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. Jack said, the Vancouver Canucks desperately need more depth on defense. With Hronek injured, Hughes alone is not enough to consistently carry the defensive core. Myers and Soucy are in slumps and have no expectations on when they can play good again. The Canucks need good defense. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm not saying yeah to everything. I actually don't think Myers and Soucy are in slumps. I think Myers and Soucy are playing pretty normal. Like, they're, if regular is like, you know, 6.5 out of 10. I think some nights they've been a 5.5. Some nights they've been a 7.5. But for the most part, I think they're playing like 6.5 out of 10 hockey, which is fine if you're a third pair D. I do agree, though, that them playing on the second pair, and now I think Myers played up on the first pair with Hughes a few games ago. And that's, you know, I love Myers, but that's not really what you want if you want to win a Stanley Cup. So yeah, the Canucks do need more depth on defense. I mean, depth isn't really the thing, right? Like, it's not like they're trying to get a bunch of more Juulsens. They need a Rasmus Andersson or a Marcus Pettersson or whoever else is on the block. I mean, I don't know. It is an interesting situation, and now with Hronek out, it's a problem. It is, and it makes that whole Höglander situation I just spoke about more juicy. Like I said, it's like, man, if they were willing to wait for Höglander to get over this slump, maybe now they're not. They don't have a choice now. We're gonna have to wait and see. Solid Jonathan said, although Hogs has been slacking lately, he is essentially getting no time to prove himself, and any small mistake he commits, it seems that Tocchet will immediately punish him and give him less time on the ice. Yeah, I've noticed that as well, but here's my take on it. So the coach's job is to make sure his team wins the game that's happening in front of him, right? The GM's job is to look at the whole season as a whole, the roster, all that, but when a game's happening, the coach is just, okay, how do we win this game? Sometimes it's not even that broad. I think sometimes it's like, how do we score on this power play? How do we not get scored on this penalty kill? How do we make sure we win this neutral zone faceoff? And I think when Höglander or whoever it is makes a mistake, maybe 2, maybe 3, him getting benched isn't Tocchet being like, you're in a timeout, you're being punished. I think it's more like, hey, you are not contributing to the chances of our team winning at this moment in time. Therefore, I am not going to play you. I mean, I'm sure, obviously, coaches definitely, like, they do go out of their way to punish players. But for some reason, I just don't get that vibe from Tocchet as much. I think that's why he, like, when he's asked, even when you go back to the Kuzmenko drama from last season, when he's asked about some of his decisions, he kind of stumbles around his words a little bit because I think he doesn't realize that he's like, oh yeah, like I'm not punishing him. It's just he wasn't playing well. It's not meant to be perceived as a punishment. Oni Blade said, Kiefer Sherwood is the right winger Petey desperately needed, and the Vancouver Canucks aren't good. The Vancouver Canucks are great. Yes, they are. Well, actually, I think they're probably just good right now. We're trying to make them great. And when they are, I will change the saying, okay? But they're still good right now, at least in my books. Kiefer Sherwood is amazing. I hope what we're witnessing is something we can 100% rely on moving forward. I hope it's not just a hot streak, right? I hope he puts up 5 hits a game until he retires, and I hope he scores 20 goals every season, because that would be sick. He's like it's pointless to compare these guys, but he's kind of like Alex Burrows mixed with Todd Bertuzzi. And I say Todd Bertuzzi, obviously, because he wears number 44. I think that's why I think Todd Bertuzzi. But, he's also super physical, and he can score goals. He gets under the skin of the opponent. Yeah, I love Kiefer Sherwood. I agree. That's not really a hot take. It's just a comment, but I agree with it. Quinn Hughes this is from Ja Got an Opinion. Quinn Hughes will end the year as a finalist for the Hart Trophy. Bookmark it. Honestly, if he keeps playing the way he is now, I totally agree. I think that's very, very possible. William Harris said, Canucks will do a 3-team trade with the Columbus Blue Jackets involving Höglander and another team that has a defenseman, and we could add to our top 4. I've heard Columbus is interested in Höglander, but now with David Jiricek gone, I don't know if they're willing to trade another right side defender. I've heard Cole Sillinger, he's a center, that the Canucks might be interested in Cole Sillinger, but I don't know. I mean, we do need a center too. This Canucks team is in an interesting stage right now. They're very, very, very promising, but there's a few big holes here. So a 3-team trade involving Höglander going to the Columbus Blue Jackets and us getting a defender from another team, maybe. I don't know, maybe. Leroy C asked, what's something about the Canucks that you wouldn't have realized if you weren't making your videos? That's a good question. Well, it's interesting because it's not really about the Canucks, and it's not even really about hockey necessarily. I think I'm learning a lot about the broadcast, right? Because I'm editing the game broadcast. You know how they have the static camera right in the middle of the ice that films, has both sides. It's the one that takes up like 80%, 85% of the game, the normal camera angle, right? Well, sometimes when the puck goes into the corner or there's a face-off, they do close-ups, right? And they do a different angle. Little things like that I'm kind of picking up on and learning why they make those changes. And honestly, it's kind of, not that I'm aspiring to do this ever, but it's kind of making me get ideas about how I'd broadcast an NHL game if I were ever in charge of, a Sportsnet Canucks broadcast or something like that. If picking when they switch cameras and where the cameras are, that's that kind of thing. That's probably the number one thing I've learned. Obviously, I'm watching the games a lot more meticulously now, and I take notes while I watch. So I'm learning the ins and outs of the actual sport more than I ever had, which is something that is kind of feels weird because I grew up playing hockey and I've been watching the Canucks for over 20 years. And I kind of thought I knew all that there was to know, at least the important things when it came to hockey. And in a way, it was true. I knew enough to love the game and understand it. But now that I'm editing and I'm, like I said, I'm so meticulous about it, I am picking up on, when coaches say, oh, this player has to work on their details or their little things. I'm picking up on those details and the little things, what they mean when they say that. All these tiny little adjustments that you wouldn't notice if you weren't slowing down the footage and editing it, or if you weren't, someone who really passionately cared about the sport and, grew up playing it or coaching it or whatnot. So yeah, that's probably my answer. Pyrovision asked, if you had to pick one member of the Canucks to play on your 2v2 basketball team against LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal, who would you pick? Well, I don't play basketball, but I would pick Desharnais and Myers because they're both 6'7" or something. Gloria asked, who has overall been the best Canuck so far this season? Also, this account's handle is @HotForLaCaramaki, which is awesome. Best Canuck so far this season, probably Quinn Hughes, but that answer is obvious, so I'll give you a cooler answer, and I'd say probably Kevin Lankinen, honestly. He's been incredible, and yeah, Kevin Lankinen. Sammy said, Juulsen is just rusty and will become a sustainable 6th D shutdown option. He was solid last season. Yeah, I agree. Juulsen had a great year last year. He was fantastic when he needed to be, and it's hard for a player like that to be kind of slotted in and out of the lineup because it's hard to get into a groove. But he did a great job when there was an injury or just they wanted to switch things up, and he'd come up. He played great. He won me over last year. He won a lot of people over last year. I love Juulsen. It's, for me, it always comes down to this is going to sound cheesy, but if you can tell their heart's in it, as long as you have the heart, like the passion and the drive to succeed, you'll get there. It just depends. The only difference would be how long it takes you. But I truly believe that. And I'm still young. I don't know everything yet. So, maybe I'll get back to you in 40 years or something. But so far, that's my take on life, is if you have the heart to do something and work your hardest at it, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of your skill level, regardless of your education, whatever, I think you can do it. I think heart is like one of the best ways to tell if someone's going to do well in life. And yeah, I think Juulsen has a lot of heart. He really, really cares about this. He works very, very hard from what I can tell. I mean, I don't know the guy, but from what I can tell, like Garland, I think I'm not surprised that Garland's basically a point per game player this year because of what I've seen from this first couple of years as a Canuck. He works his ass off every night. It doesn't matter if he's playing in front of 0 fans during the COVID era. It doesn't matter if he's playing on a team that has a ton of drama surrounding it during the Boudreau, Travis Green, Jim Benning era. It doesn't matter if his players are literally arguing mid-game back when JT Miller and Luke Shen got in a little beef after a game, or when he slammed his stick on the net because Colin Delia didn't leave the net quick enough. Garland comes out and he's always working. And I get the same thing from Juulsen. I just think it's going to be a slower process to get as effective as Conor Garland has been for whatever reason, But so I agree. Juulsen is probably going to, I believe, if they give him the shot, he will be a sustainable sixth defender, maybe even higher, maybe. Big Hog Hockey asked, which defenseman do you want the Canucks to go after, and which one do you think and which one do you think Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford will go after? Which defenseman do I want the Canucks to go after? Well, for a while, my pick was Dante Fabro. He's a right-handed defender, and the Canucks have been looking for one for, years now. And B, because he's from BC. Now, that doesn't always mean that it'll be a good fit. In fact, I can think of at least a couple very obvious examples of a BC kid not doing well playing for Vancouver. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he'd be a good fit, but everything I read, there was never any interest in him from the Canucks, at least nothing that I saw. And now he's on the Columbus Blue Jackets and he's kicking ass. He's played, I think, like 6 or 7 games there and he's doing well. So I don't think he'll be moved anytime soon. So who do I want them to get now? Obviously realistic answers only. I don't know. I think Marcus Pettersson is the name, and this actually would be my answer for the second part of your question too. I kind of think Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford have their eyes set on Marcus Pettersson, which is hilarious, bringing in another Pettersson. But I have my doubts about him. Okay, no, let me rephrase that. I don't have doubts about that player. It's more just that it's another left-handed defender. Right. And we already have, our problem really isn't on the left side. It could be improved, but it feels weird to improve the left before the right. On the left, you got Quinn Hughes, Carson Soucy, and Erik Brännström right now. And on the right, with Hronek out, you have Myers, Juulsen, Desharnais, I guess. And I love these guys. They're not bad or anything, but if we want to win a cup, it would be nice to have a stronger right side. So that's why I like Dante Fabro. That's why I like Rasmus Andersson on the Flames. But like I said, realistic answers only. And while that answer probably would have been considered realistic at the start of the season, it seems as though Andersson's off the trade block now because the Flames have started pretty strong and may actually contend for a playoff spot. So yeah, I think my answer for that is Marcus Pettersson. And for those of you who don't know that guy, he's on the Penguins. Okay. Clover Flowifis said, talk about the JT Miller and Hronek situation. No, okay, it's not even that I don't want to talk about it. It's just, I think there's nothing to talk about. It's just a grown man taking a leave of absence from work for reasons that are totally not our business. And that's that. The Hronek situation, I mean, he's injured. Is there a situation? Like, I'm not even aware if there's a Hronek situation. Oh, it has to do with his recovery or something, right? If there's a surgery he wants or... Okay, no, as of 29 minutes ago, Canucks Army posted an article that said Canucks Filip Hronek out for 8 weeks after procedure on lower body injury. Oh, fuck. Also, I swear on this podcast sometimes, just FYI, but not too much though. Anyways, Filip Hronek out for 8 weeks. Well, fuck my fucking fuck. That sucks. Oh, man. 8 weeks? That's 2 months. What? Oh, man. Well, okay. The Canucks will be making a trade, I think, very soon then, in that case. 2 months? Okay, we're moving on. Okay, Big Hog Hockey. Oh, okay, 2 more from Big Hog Hockey. I'll answer these ones quickly because I don't want you to hog the show, man. If you were to be hired by the Canucks, what role would you want to fill? GM, PHO, or head coach? I don't know what PHO means, but it doesn't matter because it's GM. I would love to be the GM of a hockey team. I think that'd be awesome. And then the other one is, do you think Hughes is better than Makar? If so, why? Sometimes yes and sometimes no. I think right now they are so good that on any given day, it's one or the other. It kind of just depends on who's playing well. Right now, I think it's Hughes. But at the start of the season, I think it was Makar. I wouldn't be surprised if in a week I'm saying Makar and a week after that I'm saying Hughes. It's both of them, really. I think I don't know what it's going to take, but they're both incredible players. Okay, Canuck Girl said, hot take, Quinn Hughes wins the Hart, Norris, and Art Ross this year. That is a hot take. Honestly, okay, him winning the Hart isn't crazy. If you look at the last 2 weeks of Canucks hockey and expanded that to an 82-game season, I think Hughes 100% would be in the conversation for the Hart. However, over the course of an entire year, nothing against Quinn Hughes. He has every tool to win the Hart Trophy, but expecting players like McKinnon, McDavid, Draisaitl, Kucherov, Crosby, all these guys to have down years, or to expect Hughes to have an amazing year. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hot take. I agree. Armand Sadu said, do you think the Canucks might try pulling a Vegas with Hronek, keeping him out until the playoffs? Well, we just learned that he's out for 2 months. So, no, I don't think so. Carson asked, what's your favorite Canucks memory? There are so many, especially from when I was a kid. But I think last year, or I guess technically this year, but last season, when the Canucks came back against the Predators in that game where Besser got a hat trick and they went up 3-1 in the series, I think it was. That was just like, I was at the sports bar connected to Rogers Arena at the time with some friends, and man, it was so fun. That's one of my favorite memories ever. So I'll pick that one just because it's more recent. But yeah, I mean, there's been tons, like Burrows scoring the goal against the Blackhawks in Game 7 of the 2011 series, the Brendan Morrison overtime goal against the Flames. And that was in double overtime, I think. I can't remember. Anyways, tons of great memories. But yeah, I'll pick the most recent one, I think, just because I've been thinking about it a lot lately, to be honest. Who on the Canucks looks easiest to draw? What? Looks easiest to draw? Probably Nils Oman. He has a very symmetrical face. He'd probably be the easiest to draw. That was from Rocky, by the way, at Rocketeer. Armand Samra asked, hot take. Demko plays all home games. Lankinen plays all away games this season. Much love. Is that a hot take? I mean, that would be weird. That would be weird if that happens. I don't even know. Okay, Tyler Motte supremacy. Did you ever watch Tyler Motte on the Canucks? It's multiple questions. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Did you ever watch Tyler Motte on the Canucks? Who is the best Canuck of all time and why is it Tyler Motte? Who is your favorite player and how did it become Tyler Motte? I fucking loved Tyler Motte. I was so sad when he got traded. Tocchet would love Tyler Motte. But the thing is, we got a few Tyler Mottes now. I mean, you got Kiefer Sherwood, who is a more physical version of Tyler Motte. You got Teddy Bluger, who's a more offensive version of Tyler Motte. Danton Heinen, who's a more defensively sound version of Tyler Motte. Conor Garland, who has, I honestly think, a bit more heart to his game than Tyler Motte, because that was the most at least my favorite thing about Tyler Motte when he played here was the heart, right? He'd come out, he was like Garland. He'd come out and every game, no matter what was going on, the Canucks could be going through a terrible spell. They could be on a win streak. It doesn't matter. Like Tyler Motte would come out and put his heart into every shift. And you could tell just watching from home, you could tell. And that's the reason I love Conor Garland. So yeah, like Tyler Motte rocked, but I kind of think the Canucks have 4 or 5 of him now, but better. So, I mean, you have a whole account dedicated to Tyler Motte supremacy. So, good for you, I think. 8R3N said, hot take, Brännström will go on the second pairing with the top 4D we acquire at the deadline when we get to the playoffs. He might be too small for playoffs, honestly, but I love his play so far. If he continues this level of play, he definitely deserves an extension. Totally agree about the extension. I mean, it's one of two things in my mind. It's either you keep playing Brännström where he is and he keeps playing well and you get his value up and you use him as a trade piece at the trade deadline, or yeah, he earns a spot on the roster and he gets, a 2, maybe 3-year deal to stick around with the team. Either way, it seems like a win-win for the Canucks. And as for what you said with, the top 4 pairing defender they acquire at the deadline, with Hronek out, I kind of think they're going to get that player within the next 2 months, maybe even within a week, like honestly. So I don't think they're going to be waiting till the deadline to make that move. But yeah, I could see. So what? It would be when Hronek is healthy and after this deal is made, come playoff time, it would be first pair, obviously Hughes Hronek, second pair Brännström, new guy, and then it would be Susie Myers. I mean, that's a good decor. That's good. So I like that hot take. Some Canuck fans said, hot take, when Demko returns, he and Lankinen will be one of the best goalie tandems in the league, along with Demko making a run for the Vezina. I don't think Demko can win the Vezina at this point. Can a goalie that only plays 2/3 of the season win the Vezina? That's interesting. I don't know. No comment on that hot take. At Shane MJ Gleason asked, Hronek is out for the season. They just don't want to admit it, or he's week to week and they want to make sure that he won't need surgery. Okay, again, we found out he's out for 2 months. I'm going to skip past that one, but thank you for asking. Canucks Stock Market said, Quinn Hughes has become the best defenseman in the whole league. Cale Makar's large drop-off in stats when he's on the ice without MacKinnon show there is a sizable gap between their daily performance without top talent on the ice. Yeah, I've seen some of those stats. I mean, McKinnon's the guy that's going to drive the play. Of course, Makar makes plays as well, and so does Rantanen and Nichushkin and all those guys on that team. But MacKinnon is the guy, right? It must affect the way Makar plays. Like if you put Makar on a team without a MacKinnon, right? If you swap Hughes and Makar, right? Makar was now on the Canucks. Hughes is playing for the Avalanche. We might see the same stats. I wouldn't be surprised because I don't know. I can't really explain my thought here, and I don't really want to. So I'm going to move on because I don't know what the fuck to say here. GD Juba said, Hughes is playing like a top 5 defenseman all time right now. Yeah, I mean, all time? You mean like ever? I can't really argue that. I don't even know how you would like measure that, but he's playing incredibly well right now. Harrison G-Men said, who has been the most under the radar Canuck this year? Danton Heinen. I don't think anybody's talking about him. They're not even bashing him. I think he's been so solid. He's not putting up a bunch of goals, but he's also like not underscoring. I think he's got a couple goals, couple assists. He's great on the penalty kill. Yeah, I haven't heard his name brought up at all, really. So I kind of think he's the most underrated right now. All right, I think we're going to have to switch over to YouTube because we're already 30 minutes into this episode and I still have like 120 more comments to respond to. I don't think I'm going to get to every single one, unfortunately. So maybe I'll have to do a part 2. I don't know. But if I didn't get to yours, please forgive me. I did not expect so many people to send in their comments and questions. This is kind of crazy to me, to be honest. Okay, JB Does Baseball said, nickname for the other Elias Pettersson needs to be Elias Defenderson. Yeah, I think I already came up with a nickname similar to that in the Bright Future of the Canucks video. I called him Delius Defenderson or something like that. But yeah, I know, I like that. The Ruler of the Cosmos has some nickname ideas. Shaken Jake DeBrusk, P Shooter Suitor, Lankinator. I love Lankinator. In fact, I used that in the most recent video that came out yesterday. Von Havoc said, Beluga Whale is what I always call Teddy. Also, I'd love to hear your full take on the Höglander rumors and his play so far. Well, I've already talked about Höglander. Beluga whale. Because the Canucks are whales? Beluga. It's going to take a lot for me to stop using the Bloogie Man, to be honest. Tommy Tilson 69 said, we need to start giving Brännström consistent top 4 minutes. I think he can be a big part of this team in the coming years. Yeah, well, we kind of already talked about Brännström in this episode. He's either going to be a valuable trade piece at the deadline, or I think the Canucks will re-sign him. I mean, it's still early, obviously. He's only played, 20 games as a Canuck. So, if he plays the next 40 and he's terrible, then we're going to have a different conversation. But if what we're seeing from Brännström right now is to be believed, then yeah, I would love to have him stay on the team. Having another, a diet version of Quinn Hughes on the team is sick. Canucks fan 18 said, talk about how Jake DeBrusk was such a steal and how much Boston fans are crying because Lindholm only has 2 goals this season. Look, I never really wanted the Canucks to re-sign Lindholm. Not because I didn't think he was good, but it's just too much money. Too much money for a player that didn't make a big enough difference on the team. Actually, I don't even want to say that. He was solid last year for the short amount of time he was with the team. It's just the Canucks were in a weird spot going into the offseason this summer. And they kind of still are, because if you remove the success they had last season, a lot of people would call the Canucks kind of a rebuild, not a rebuild, but like a retooling team. And obviously, part of the reason I started the channel was because I didn't believe that. I thought they had the pieces necessary to compete. And hey, clearly I was right, but there's still some part of it that remains true. Like, their best players are still just now hitting their prime. Hughes is 26 or 20? Oh man, I always forget their ages. How old is Quinn Hughes? Let's see. Quinn Hughes is 25. He just turned 25. So he's not even at his best yet, which is disgusting to think about. Imagine how good he's going to be at 28, 29, right? So I'm rambling. The point is, I never really cared about re-signing Lindholm. I was more concerned about getting Joshua back, about getting Hronek back. And Jake DeBrusk, what a steal that is. I really believe. I mean, he's getting paid $5 million and he's on pace for 40 goals right now. Even if he hit 30, it's awesome. It's awesome. Howie Smith 14 said, if the Canucks get healthy and add one more solid defenseman, they will be a Stanley Cup contender. Yeah, I agree. One more solid defenseman, and honestly, maybe a serviceable third line center as well, because it's interesting how right now, without Lindholm on the team, if you are in the playoffs and let's say the Canucks are struggling offensively and you want to put the Lotto line back together for a game, and for those of you who don't know, the Lotto line is Pettersson, Miller, and Besser. Who's going to be the second line center? No shade to Bluger or Suter. Those guys are great, but can you rely on them playing second line center in a playoff series going up against? I mean, you have to imagine it's going to be the Oilers again, right? So yeah, I'd like to get another some more center depth, I think too. But yeah. Big Blue said, hot take, will Kevin Lankinen... This is a question. How could it be a hot take if it's a question? Okay, I'll just read it how they wrote it. Big Blue commented, hot take, will Kevin Lankinen perform better as a goalie than Thatcher Demko once he returns after being out for around 7 months? I mean, you're asking me to be psychic here, and I have no idea. History would suggest that no, Thatcher Demko is an amazing goalie. Kevin Lankinen has been streaky in the past, right? I remember hearing Kevin Lankinen's name for the first time when he was on the Blackhawks, and I don't remember how long his streak was, but he was putting up good numbers. That's how I heard about him back in the day. Then I forgot about him. I didn't even know he was on Nashville until last season when they played them in the playoffs. So I love Kevin Lankinen. I think he's incredible, and it's possible that he's now found his form, and this is the type of goalie he actually is. But if I was a betting man, I'd pick Demko just because he's been so good for so long. I do know what you mean though. When he's been out for 7 months, is he going to be rusty? Maybe Lankinen will outplay him for the first 10 games or something. But when you look at the season as a whole or even their career, no, I'm picking Demko 10 times out of 10. Ta29 said, I'd love to see you review some older games /season/playoff appearances that you've remembered. Yeah, okay, I wanted to do that. In fact, that was my plan going into the summer, but I think I kind of burnt out, to be honest. During the season, I as you know, I cover games kind of in bunches. Like occasionally I'll do a single game review, but for the most part, it's 2 games, 3 games, sometimes even 4 games. Actually, this year I did a 5-game one. No, I did a 6-game one this year. It was crazy. I don't plan to do that again. But when the playoffs hit, I decided I'm going to do a video for each game. And man, was that difficult. I don't know how Diener HD does it, man. It tore me apart. There was one, the final game, or not the final game, game 6 against the Oilers was when I hit my, whatever you call it, my limit. I was up until 8 a.m. trying to get that video out. It was so, I'm not complaining because really at the end of the day, I'm the one doing this to myself. Like I don't have to care so much about the editing and the storytelling. Like I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, okay? And that's why these videos take so long. But anyways, the point is, I wanted to do that. I was planning on doing a review of one whole series. I won't say which one in case I still do it. But I think I'm going to do that next summer. I like that idea a lot. I just need to pace myself and make sure I don't burn out when the Canucks go to the playoffs. If the Canucks had gone to the final last year, I don't know what would have happened to me. I think I would have actually gone insane for more reasons than one. Okay, the Canadian Killer said, I heard that there might have been talks with Boston to reacquire Zadorov back to Vancouver. What is your take on this? And if there is a trade, who or what would you give? Or are you against this sort of trade? I would love to have Zadorov back. I really, really would. I think he fit on this team perfectly. And in the playoffs, he was just so much fun to watch, but he signed quite a hefty contract in Boston, and I don't really know if I'd be willing to take that on as a Canucks fan. However, if Boston is willing to retain some of that salary, maybe, but I don't think they do that because that would look terrible for them. They sign this guy in the offseason and then they trade him off and still have to pay some of his salary. I don't think they do that. So If the money works, if the Canucks can somehow, I don't know which player they'd get rid of to make the money work. I'll just say this. I would love to see Zadorov in a Canucks uniform again. I think Patrick Allvin would have to work some of his magic. And I honestly, I wouldn't put it past him. I think he probably can. I just don't know. I can't imagine what it would look like. Mythic Ninja asked, do you think Demko will be an all-star when he comes back? Do you mean he'll still be an amazing goalie or that he'll make the all-star team? Still be an all-star? I'll answer both. Yes, I think he'll still be an amazing goalie. No, I don't think he'll make the all-star team unless he just absolutely, hits the ground running and it's undeniable. But apparently he's going to be back tonight. I don't know if that means he'll be playing tonight against Columbus or if he's going to be sitting on the bench as the backup. I have no idea, but I heard that he might be ready for tonight's game against Columbus, and I'm actually going to that game. So if he's playing, I will be the loudest person in the crowd. You better count on that. I promise you. At Vishy is Vishy said, hot take, the Canucks will not re-sign Thatcher Demko when his contract is up, and I could see him getting traded in the last year of his contract. I don't want to think about that, let alone talk about it, so no comment. At Neil Beck 8689 said, hot take, Brännström's been Canucks number 2 most reliable defenseman. Hot take number 2, Juulsen will be a staple in the lineup and a regular in the middle pairing by the beginning of next year. Okay, hot take number 1, Brännström's been the Canucks' best defense or second best defenseman or second most reliable defenseman. Is that true? No. He's been number 3. You go Hughes and then Hronek. And for your second hot take about Juulsen, do I think he'll be a second pairing defenseman as soon as next season? I love Juulsen. I don't think he'll be on the second pairing next year. Mainly because I think that spot's going to be taken by Tom Willander. I really do. And I also think that it could be taken by Tom Willander as soon as this year. After the college season is over, he'll definitely play some NHL games with the Canucks. And maybe, just maybe, he'll earn a spot on that second pairing or at least on the third pairing. But next year, I think that's Willander's spot. I really do. At Voon4747 said or asked, with all the adversity going on, it's pretty crazy. We are only 2 points behind where we were last year at this point. Thoughts? Yeah, again, the point of this channel was kind of to just mute all of the drama surrounding the team because everybody loves to complain. I don't know why. And for years, that's all they would do. They'd complain about the moves Jim Benning was making. They'd complain about the lines that Travis Green was putting together, or Bruce Boudreau, or even Tocchet at some points. They'd complain about the play of JT Miller, of even Bo Horvat sometimes, Elias Pettersson. It was just like nonstop negativity. And I wanted to start a channel that was kind of, and by the way, I never try to be positive. I always say this, but I'm just kind of naturally like this. But I wanted to just put a new voice into the Canucks media sphere, and a voice that's a bit more positive or looks at the team from a different angle. And I kind of feel like now, given the expectations they have on them after last season, it's kind of happening again, where you got like all these little things that are going on, whether it be the JT Miller situation, Thatcher Demko's injury, Hronek's injury, Höglander's struggles, whatever it is, that's what they're focusing on. But you're right. You're absolutely right. They are not that far off, if at all, from the team that they were at this point last year. The same team that we were praising. And mind you, they weren't praising them last year at this point. They were still rambling on about PDO and how they're eventually going to regress and go back to being the old Canucks. And they never did. They never did. I mean, they stopped scoring as much a little bit, and they went through a rough patch around February and March. But in the playoffs, they were sick. They were one goal away from the conference finals. So yeah, my thoughts are the Canucks are good. I don't know. At James Hackshaw said, hot take, if the Canucks don't see much change in the team's performance after JT Miller and Demko get back, then Rick Tocchet will be replaced by the new year. I need to know the definition of a hot take, because I think that's a terrible take, but because it's rare, does that mean it's hot? I'm sorry to be rude, but I think that's a bad take, because Rick Tocchet and that whole coaching staff is the reason the Canucks are good now. That team couldn't really find their groove under the other coaches, the older coaches, Travis Green, Bruce Boudreau. They couldn't find it consistently, and in some cases they couldn't find it at all. And Rick Tocchet did an amazing job of bringing all these players together. And I know Bruce Cassidy was just let go in Boston, and everyone's talking about that. Or was it Bruce Cassidy? No, what am I talking about? That's not Bruce Cassidy. Why am I'm tripping hard right now? Who was it? What's his name? Jim Montgomery. Jim Montgomery was let go in Boston, and everyone now is like, oh, any coach could be let go. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Tocchet is here to stay. It would take some crazy. And also, what are you even talking about if the Canucks don't perform better? It's really just their home games. For some reason, they suck at home right now. I don't know why. I think it's probably just a random anomaly. I mean, I don't know what would be the reason for them not performing at home. I don't know, but they're in the top 10 in the whole league. So I don't know what you're talking about. Not to be rude. Actually, no, to be rude. The Canucks are fine. Don't worry. At Golf Pro 1600 said, NHL hot take, the Oilers are a two-man team. And then a Nuckhead question, who is your favorite past Canuck? Favorite past Canuck, rather than picking the obvious ones like Marcus Naslund or the Sedins or Luongo, I'll go with Alex Burrows. He was just so much fun to watch. And then the NHL hot take, the Oilers are a two-man team. If we're beefing an Oilers fan, that's fun to say, but in reality, they're not. I mean, they got Evan Bouchard. He's fantastic. Nugent Hopkins is fantastic. Matthias Ekholm is quietly one of the best defenders in the league. Super underrated player. McDavid is so dominant, and Draisaitl, but McDavid specifically is so dominant that sometimes when you're watching the Oilers, it does seem like they're a one-man team, but it's just because he's so good. If you put McDavid on any other team, including the Canucks, obviously, it would be the same thing. In fact, it might be worse for some teams. If you put him on like, obviously, if you put him on like the Blackhawks or something, he would stick out like the opposite of a sore thumb. Anyways, Canucklehead1 said nickname idea, Quentin Hughesy. I mean, I don't know if that's creative enough, but I like it. Who is Gingy said, Patrick Kane is the best American-born hockey player. I think factually, or at least statistically, he is. But, I mean, how do you quantify that? Yeah, he's probably the best. 3 Stanley Cups. Mike Modano. Yeah, he's probably the best. Erwin Rommel, 2099, said, hot take, coach needs to let off of Hogg and let him play a bit. He's been too harsh and Hogg is in his head. It'd be great if we didn't have to trade him to get a second-line defender. I do get the vibe that Tocchet is fairly stubborn maybe, or just really set on making sure he sets an example. I think I spoke about this earlier in the episode, but just how he really wants to hold the players accountable. So if Höglander doesn't do something right and he lets him off, then the next guy who doesn't do something right, he might have to let off as well. Otherwise, there's favoritism happening or something along those lines. By the way, I'm just kind of grasping at straws here. I don't really know what their relationship is like. I don't know at all. So, I don't even know what let him play a bit means, because if Höglander is causing the team to give up chances against, or to losing possession or drawing penalties, because there have been a few occasions this year where Höglander's drawn a penalty like in the offensive zone, just while forechecking, being careless with his stick or something like that. It is frustrating as a coach, I would imagine. So I don't know what you do. I mean, we kind of saw this play out last year with Kuzmenko, and it ended in a trade. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. Predhead, Nashville is better. Okay. Predhead, nice. Said, a weird thing to say when Mäki scores. Daddy Mäki just made the mesh go smacky. Dude, you killed it. Terrible username, but amazing idea. Daddy Mäki just made the mesh go smacky. I need to remember that because it's so stupid. And I mean that in the best way. I love stupid stuff like that. Daddy Mäki just made the mesh go smacky. That's awesome. Good work. Justin McJesus said, if you had to choose between the 9th pick for Dylan Guenther or continuing the trade that acquired Conor Garland, which would you choose? Okay, for those who don't know, Conor Garland was acquired from the Arizona Coyotes in a trade that involved their first round pick along with a few other players. And in return, the Canucks got Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who at the time was on one of the worst contracts in the league, if not maybe the worst, and it's still haunting us now. We also got Conor Garland. And I actually got flamed for this on Twitter, saying that I think, as bad as that trade was, the fact that we got Conor Garland means I would make it again. And people were like, what are you talking about? I'd rather not have to deal with the Ekman-Larsson contract, and I'd rather have the young Dylan Guenther, who's killing it over in Utah right now. No, I actually still stand by what I said. Obviously, if you're building a team from the ground up and you're looking at Conor Garland or Dylan Guenther, you want the younger guy who's probably going to be a better player someday. That goes without question. But if you're on a team that has their eyes set on the Stanley Cup, which, that's the Canucks right now, they're in their window and they want to win now, you're picking Conor Garland. Conor Garland is so irreplaceable. There are not many players like him in the league, and I will say that over and over and over until people start understanding it. He brings his teammates into the fight every single night, and he's been doing it throughout every game, like since he joined the Canucks, back when Travis Green was the coach, right? He is such a valuable player, even if he doesn't put up 100 points. He's one of those guys that if he's off the team is going to hurt badly. So if I had to choose between Dylan Guenther and Conor Garland, and we're talking about this year's Canucks, not 10 years down the line, not if we're talking about Utah, which one, Utah would rather have. If it's this year's Canucks, the 2025 Canucks, I'm picking Conor Garland. I'd rather have a player who has experience in the league, experience in the playoffs, who already knows how to bring his teammates into the fight every single night. I don't want a kid who's developing, who's going to make mistakes. Come on, that makes sense, right? Cause Bonley 5513 asked, do you listen to any of the Canucks radio shows? If so, which one is your favorite? I started to get into Halford and Bruff in the morning, and it's probably my favorite of the bunch. Love the videos. Well, thank you for watching the videos. No, actually, I don't. I listen to Canucks Central with Satyar Shah and Dan Riccio sometimes when I'm in the car, but for the most part, no. I used to watch The Hockey Guy quite a bit, and I still would. It's just I've been so busy making these videos lately, I haven't really been consuming much content other than Canucks games. So, I don't really listen to anybody. I'm trying to think. No, I don't. Sorry. Scylla5024 asked, do you have a favorite Canucks call or a funny moment from Shorty or Cheech? Okay, well, first of all, John Garrett, I cried, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I cried like a baby during his final broadcast when they said their goodbyes. There's a video on my phone because I wanted to film it just so I remembered, which is dumb because A, I'm filming a screen, and B, of course it's going to be uploaded to YouTube at some point. Why do I think I need to film it? None of it made sense, but I was filming it, And then I just started crying. I was just so sad because I didn't really realize, but saying goodbye to John Garrett was hard. He was like one of the voices of my childhood growing up, and seeing John Shorthouse like stutter on his words and get all teary-eyed just killed me. But anytime Shorty says like there's 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game, or says the two number 52s are in the corner now, I laugh. So that's what I like. All right, well, thank you guys so much for submitting all your questions and comments for this episode. I'm sorry if I didn't get to yours, but I promise I will do another episode like this sometime in the future, very soon actually. I want to do more of these because this is how the podcast started, and I'm so happy to have guests on here, but with all the guests, these kinds of episodes kind of started fading away, and I like them a lot, and I hope you guys like them too. So I'll do more of these in the future. I keep saying in the future, I mean, I will make these a regular thing, so don't worry if I didn't get to your comment or your question. Yeah. All right, thank you for listening. Enjoy the game tonight. Canucks are going to win 5-3 tonight against the Blue Jackets, mark my words, and Max Sasson is going to get his first career goal. That's my prediction. All right, bye.